Hello, people from out of this binary. My name is Paris, and I know it's been a really long time, but I have a little update to make about my life lately. Um, it's been pretty busy because, first of all, I'm trying to move out of where I am right now, me and my now wife. Are trying to move out to Cedar City so she can go to college and stuff. So we've been looking for an apartment, and that has been a thing. Also, I've had some issues with my car, and I got married. So I got married today, the day that I'm recording this video. I got a new tattoo. It hurts pretty bad, and I am also overheating right now. And I needed to turn the fan off so I could record this video for you guys. But anyways, I want to jump into the topic, and lately we've been talking a little bit about inclusive language and different aspects of it, with Mountains and Willows video about the asterisk on certain like LGBT words, like trans with an asterisk and women with an asterisk and stuff like that, and Beyond's video on inclusive language. And I thought I could talk about inclusive language and like gender neutral language in Spanish, because that's my first language and that's the language that I'm fluent on, and I've been seeing like a lot of issues about changing the Spanish language to be more inclusive and stuff like that lately on Facebook. A lot of people with very hateful comments and stuff like that. So I have some little notes in here about like what I want to talk about specifically. So I'm gonna break it down a little bit for you. So in case you didn't know, but I'm pretty sure most of you know that Spanish is a very gendered language, just as French and some others, like Romans tongues, I think they're called, the ones that come from Latin. We're talking Portuguese, Italian, French, Spanish, and all those sorts of language. Sorry, they're very gendered, even with objects. Like if you want to say per se phone, then it's not as easy as saying like the phone, but like the needs to be like either masculine or feminine, and a phone would be masculine. So that would be per se like el teléfono. And lately, there's been like a movement from non-binary people, and also feminists that support like inclusive language and stuff like that, to change that gendered norm on the language, not with objects and that kind of stuff, because that's something that we can't change, and it's kind of like the nature of the object in certain language, you know? That's something that we're not going to change. Like, objects don't care about gender and stuff like that. That's literally a human concept. But there are like other problems that present with Spanish, and the main two that I want to talk about right now are that you have to choose when you refer to yourself or someone else between masculine or feminine, like adjectives and stuff like that. Per se, if I were to call someone my friend, I would know if they're male or female, at least in Spanish, because those are the only two options. So I would have to choose between amigo or amiga, which would be like masculine and feminine. And there's like really no option there for non-binary people like me. When I came out as gender fluid to my friends, and I told them, sometimes I feel real uncomfortable when you refer to me as a girl, but I also like don't really feel like a guy. Sometimes I feel real like in the middle. My friends needed to educate themselves, and I needed to educate myself to help them, because there's really no clear option, and there's no like clear agreement on what to do with this topic. And also the other problem that presents in Spanish when talking about like gender stuff is that if you want to talk about a group of people, it doesn't matter like what gender the people are in a group, you have to use masculine to refer to everyone. Per se, if I say that I have friends, I would say yo tengo amigos, and that includes female and male friends and possibly like non-binary friends or whatever. But that like includes friends, and you're using like the masculine one. But if you say, per se, tengo amigas, which is like the feminine form for I have friends, people would assume that it's only girls. If you use the masculine one, then it would be for like boys and girls and other people. And I think that is like a pretty bad thing to do as well. And so some people, when I like realized that I was gender fluid and stuff like that, some people proposed for stuff that I read on the internet to use the letter X at the end of the word instead of not necessarily at the end, but mainly like gendered norms in Spanish are like O is for masculine and A is for feminine most of the times. And so people say just put an X in there instead of any of those vowels. So it's like ambiguous, like it doesn't really matter, like it could be any. The problem is that there is no way to pronounce that because the X has like almost the same sound in Spanish as it does in English. It's like x, x. So it would be there's like no way that it could be pronounced. It would be only for like written text and stuff. And so other people say, well, then there is the option to use the letter E. Most of the times when there are like gender neutral adjectives, per se alegre, which means happy, ends with an E, and that can apply for both like masculine and feminine. And so some people say, you know what, just use an E instead of an O or an A at the end of the word or whatever it's supposed to be. So per se, instead of saying amigo or amiga, it would be amigue. Now, my friends have been using this with me. I use the X when I write, and I use E when I speak. I don't really like writing stuff with the E, but I kind of just pronounce the E when I'm talking, but I write stuff with an X. Now, there's been a lot of hate lately that I've been seeing on Facebook and stuff like that, and that it's really not justified, at least from what I can see, because their arguments, the main arguments that they use, sorry, I got a text, the main arguments that people use are the rules that what we call RAE makes. If you're not familiar with like Spanish, basically we do have like an authority that makes all the rules for our language, and we have to like stick by what they say when we want to make like official documents and stuff like that, because anything else would be considered slang. So RAE, it's sorry, that's my laptop. Sorry. So the RAE is basically the royal, Spanish Royal Academy of the language, the tongue. That's how we call it that. It's the Real Academia Española de la Lengua. So the Spanish Royal Academy, basically. And they make all the rules, and so some people argue like against the use of the X and the E because it's not proper, it's not correct, it's not authorized by this authority that we have which I think is stupid, because this authority supposedly that we have has been changing the rules as the years pass, because they have seen certain patterns on the language that have been like changing, that people have been changing, and that they're accepting as correct. They're like, you know what, like, this isn't actually that wrong, we're just gonna take it. And so they make it a rule. And I think that the more that we push this E thing or X thing, I don't think the X thing is gonna happen, but most probably the E, this Royal Academy, the Spanish Royal Academy, they will take it and they are gonna make it a rule. But most people are like, you know what, like, I'm not going to, because it's not proper, like, it's not proper grammar, because this authority doesn't approve it. And also, some people say, you know, like, I'm not changing the masculine word to refer to a group of people, because this is the rule that has been established by this Royal Academy. But the thing is, as I said before, that is because Spanish is a very gendered language, and they don't see any more option. And it's very, very sexist because of culture. Like, before, a lot of years ago, that was like the thing that people were used to say, per se, like, they would say mankind. You know what I mean? And that's like only saying man, but now more people are saying humankind to start like adapting to that kind of stuff. And so language can be very, very sexist. And so what I'm just trying to say right now is that by changing our, like, the way that we speak, this Royal Academy is going to take the rules, and it's gonna make it a rule. They're gonna, like, realize that, you know what, like, we are a very sexist language, and there's something that we can do because people have been doing it, and we're gonna do it. The other argument, this is more stupid argument, is that by changing that, we are destroying the language because we're not following the rules, so we are destroying the language, and that this is just the first step to changing the language completely and start changing the gender of objects, which I think it's stupid because objects don't have a gender. That's a social construct made by us humans, and you know, like, objects don't really care. Like, if it has been working for us, learning, like, what objects, like, masculine or feminine, you know, that's okay, that's all good. Like, we know the rules for that kind of stuff. But I feel like when we are referring to people, it's way more useful that we start, like, taking these changes and applying them. At least that's how I see it, because I feel like it's really, really unfair if there's a group of, I'm just gonna use binary genders for now so you can understand the example, but I feel like it's very, very unfair to have a group of, per se, 9 girls and 1 boy, and because there is 1 boy, a person referring to that group would be forced to use the masculine way, you know, to refer to that group, when there's actually more girls than boys that, like, feel like girls and they want to be referred by feminine adjectives and pronouns and stuff, and it's unfair. What I think it needs to happen, it's a change. Like, the more we start using this language and referring to people differently, the more accepted it's going to become, and hopefully this authority making the rules for our language is going to realize that that's happening, and they're going to take the rules and they're going to be like, you know what, this is what is needed right now, and we're going to make this a rule because it's a reality, you know. I feel like I explained myself as well as I could. I am not really fluent in English that much. I mean, I am, but it's not my first language, and I feel very self-conscious about that sometimes. And I am also very, very bad at explaining things. So, yeah, that was my video for this week. I hope you liked it. If you speak Spanish, please let me know in the comments so maybe we can have like a discussion about gender language and stuff like that. And what do you think about this stuff happening? Like, do you agree that we have to stick to the norms imposed to us by this authority, or we have to make a change? Let us know in the comments below. Anyways, I'm Paris from Out of This Binary, and I hope you have a lovely week, and I'll see you soon.